Welcome to episode 6 of my Tesla project, and it is crunch time. But before I get to that, I have a public service announcement. I officially got my driver's license, which means I can actually drive my car when I'm done with it. But back to the regularly scheduled programming. If you've watched the past 5 episodes, you'd know that I won an auction for a completely totaled Tesla P100D with ludicrous mode and autonomous driving that will hopefully be my dream car one day, removed a very large high voltage battery, and pulled almost everything out of the front end to take to a professional so that they could do the one part of this project that I am scared to do, which is to replace the frame. My main car, the P100D, is now sitting at Thomas Vintage Motors and they're getting ready to work on it. Of course, they're going to need most of the parts that will eventually be touching the frame rail and apron by the end of this project, so I've been scrambling. I've already purchased a donor car, which is, of course, also a total Tesla Model S. However, it's been wrecked from the back instead of the front, and the front and inside are in perfect condition, so it's just what I need for this project. My first job after receiving the donor car was to remove the bumper and take it to the repair shop right away so they could get working on the frame rail. To make sure that the apron is in the right place, we're going to need to take off the fender and the hood on the donor car. The fender is going to be definitely the harder of the two to take off, with its most complicated step being to take off the rocker panel. The second step, taking off the hood, is going to be really easy. It's like 4 or 5 bolts tops. And hopefully, with the hood, fender, and bumper, Thomas Vintage Motors will have all they need to make the perfect repair to my car. Basically, my job today is to remove this front fender from the car. So first we're going to be removing that passenger side front wheel. It's pretty simple, just 4 nuts, and you just take it off. After that, we need to remove that left-hand rocker panel, which is the long body panel that goes basically across the side of the car, which is a lot. We already have that 12-volt power disconnected, and we already have the front fascia connected. And after that, it's just removing a bunch of bolts, and we're done. So today I'm going to be removing this fender, and the first step is to take off this hood. Yeah, and we actually put on these wheels a little while ago to switch them out because this tire is kind of jacked up. We didn't really tighten them all that much because this car has been lifted for pretty much since it got here. So I'm gonna remove the wheel now and let me do something real quick. So one of the steps is to move the wheel all the way to the left, but you can't get the wheel out when it's all the way to the left. So the second step to removing the fender is removing the rocker panel down here, and it just goes across the entirety of the car. The first step to removing this rocker panel is to actually pull out this just piece of sealant here, and it's literally as simple as tearing it out. You don't need to use a trim pry or anything. It just comes out by yanking on it on top. So then I'll pull it through here, and we have our door up here, open, and just gonna keep on feeding it through. We want to remove it up to this point, and we don't want to go any further because that exposes the rocker panel to take off. Our next step in this process is to remove the scuff plate, and this here is the scuff plate. It's kind of concealing some of the bolts that actually attach this piece onto the car. And what I've been doing is I've just been kind of going along, and whenever I see a possible trim part, I just pry my piece under there and just hear, typically I hear 2 clicks. There we go. All right, we found that there are 7 extra little clips. There are actually 2 sets of clips for every one of these. So I've actually just been like moving this piece under here and just kind of prying along. And pull.
big click happens, which is all good. And just doing that a bunch of times. Now you can see how loose that is now. Now that that scuff plate is gone, it reveals a bunch of the bolts that are attaching this rocker plate to the car. So they're just little 8mm bolts that come out real quick. Got a bit of Loctite on them, but it's no big deal. Just got a little baggie here, so label them later. And they're not too tough to get out. Okay, so step 7 are to remove these 2 rivets that secure this body panel to the very front of the car. What you're gonna do is you're gonna wanna basically put the corner of a pry tool into that little socket on the rivet and basically twist. There we go. Now I'm back at the rear tire for step 8, and I was supposed to remove 4 of these rivets, but in the wheel liner, but actually the wreck did 2 for me. So steps 9 through 12 are basically just removing like 5 clips and a bolt. So here, for step 11, a little nut was hiding behind the wheel liner. I'm just about to take that out. You're just gonna pull the wheel liner back just a little bit. And then all right, cool. So after I got that final little bolt hiding behind the wheel liner out, this little like rear fairing for the wheel well is coming out. So I just gotta pull it out, and there it is. And it kind of reveals a little clip that I have to pull out for the next step. Okay, so basically to release the final rivets that hold in this rocker panel, you just need to pry up these parts of clips, and it reveals them way up there. Just gotta do that like 8 times, and you've got a bunch of revealed rivets.
And those things are lodged so far up in there. How are you even getting those out?
I'm just basically trying to pry the screwdriver in ever so slightly and yank on it as hard as I can.
Whoa, and it just pops out.
Oh.
Did you get them all?
Yep. And I think that was the final step to removing this thing. So, yeah, let's see how I can pull this out. Okay, so I think I can just pull it out at this point, which is really exciting.
Well, let's see.
So.
Because you got all those 5 clips off. You're 14 steps in.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
I might want to get a pry tool and just pry out the bottom, see what happens. This is getting very, very low. Wait a second. That snap was on purpose, even. Oh wait, I can do it. One removed rocker panel in the file. Now that we've got the rocker panel off, we can start to remove all the other bits and pieces that actually attach the fender to the car. And we just gotta remove this bolt right here. And alright. So here, let me show you why this was so stuck in there. So there are these clamps holding on to the wall, and both of them needed to be pushed down at the same time. And it's really hard to access, so it's really hard to push them down both at the same time.
Yeah, you had to access it all the way through there.
See that? You can see my finger.
Yeah. Ooh, boy, that seemed like it was gonna be easy. That was hard.
The manual actually recommends that we only pull out the back half of the wheel liner, but since we're going to be moving this over to my car anyways, I'm just going to take out the whole thing so we can access the bolts to take out this fender.
Okay, so you're taking out the wheel liner down here.
Yep.
What all do you have to do?
There are 2 bolts here and here that there's 10 mil bolts I need to remove, and then it's just a bunch of clips that I need to remove that I've mainly actually already removed.
Cool, do your thing. Oh, you almost got it.
There we go.
Nice.
It had a hose on it, but we already removed it and tried to take off the front fascia. There we go. I'm currently just taping up the panel just so it doesn't get damaged as I release the clips behind here to remove it.
Cool. Are there just like 2 or 3 clips behind?
Yeah, and I'm going to actually also release the, yeah, here, if you want to come in. Basically, there's a couple of, here, there's a couple of electrical clips there, and then there are just some tabs. That's what was keeping them in the whole
little
time.
tiny tab?
Those little tabs, you can see the clips are there and there. You just have to pry really hard and you eventually get it. And hopefully I should be able to get these guys out now. Okay, so we figured out how it works. Basically you have to push down the very front of it, and it's just kind of hard with how close to the basically solid part we were getting.
Yeah.
So I'm just using this little tiny screwdriver. I'm just gonna see if I can push that piece down. Oh. Man, this is taking a lot of work for these little tiny, like, nothing things. Like, these past 7 steps have been real whoppers of steps. But thankfully, what's left is just a couple of nuts, bolts, and screws. So I hope that's gonna be really easy. After removing those 3 screws, we just remove these 4 bolts that attach the fender to the apron, and oh, that one's stuck on this bit of plastic. There's number 3, and last but not least, number 4. Is to remove this bolt, so get that out. And that's also attaching it to that apron. It's starting to get loose. Step 11, you actually need to remove a tiny bit of insulation before you reach the inner bolt that attaches the fender. So here's that little piece of insulation, and then yet another 10 mil about to get removed. Here we go. That reaches through. You don't really get much space, but hopefully in the end, get it out. the final step before we get to pull out this entire fender is just to remove these 2 little bolts at the bottom of the car. So there's one. Nope. There's the final bolt. And hopefully I can just actually just take it off now. So, oh, it's still kind of stuck. Figured out why I can't pull upwards, but it's attached at that one point. So I'm trying to find out, it's keeping it stuck on there. I think I have an inkling now why that fender is stuck. I actually looked over on this car and found out there's a big glob of glue here and all the nuts and bolts are out, so that has to be the culprit. So I've been working on this glue for like 10 minutes. I've been just prying my hand in here and I think I got it loose. So I guess let's just try and... Oh, that was holding it in the entire time. Look at that. Awesome. Now it's time to uninstall the hood, and the reason I'm uninstalling the hood is for my frame repair shop to basically fit all the body panels correctly again. Unfortunately, they're going to be taking just a tiny bit longer than expected, so it's not going to be done this week, but we can still keep working on the gray one. All right, so we've already done step 1 and 2, which was to remove that trim that we did at the very start of disassembling the gray car. And marking the installed position of the hood hinge to the body. We don't actually need to do that because we're never putting this hood back on the body again. So our first step will be to remove the clips that are attaching that hood harness to the rest of the hood. So I'm just working my way across the hood, and how I'm doing this is I'm just getting this little trim popper up in here. Get it nice in there. Releasing the clips that attach all the wires and hoses to the hood, all you're going to do is disconnect these electrical clips, which is as easy as pushing down right here and pulling out. The other side, same thing. There you go. The next step is to remove these, basically these hoses that go to the washer jets. All right, so now we're about to get rid of these gas struts to actually hold the hood up. So we'll have somebody, my dad, hold up the hood while I do the rest of the work. You're just gonna release these kind of C-shaped pieces of plastic that connect the, basically the gas strut to the bearing. Well, there that one goes. Just want to hold it this time. Oh, look at that.
Nice.
There we go. This one's a bit smaller, so it's kind of harder to get an edge into, but... So, yep, these last 4 bolts, and then this hood's coming down. Okay, Nathan at Thomas Vintage Motors says he has everything he needs to finally repair the apron in frame row, which is super exciting. It means that I can officially turn my attention to grabbing all the parts I need to finish this project. So, next episode, I'm going to be taking off the subframe and harvesting all the parts I need to hopefully get this car driving.
After that, I'm gonna head to the inside of the car to grab the airbags and get ready to put everything back together.